committee to order. Members, we just have a couple of housekeeping items to take care of. In your packets, you should have the minutes for March. We're going to start with March 28th, 2017. Representative Flanagan, you want to move those minutes? Representative Flanagan moves the minutes for March 28th, 2017. All those in favor of the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The minutes are adopted. Members, we also have in your packets the minutes from May 16th in your packets. Representative Fenton, you want to move those minutes? Representative Fenton, you want to move those minutes?
Sorry, I moved the minutes.
She was
Madam
deeply
Chair.
studying them, I could tell. Representative Fenton moves the minutes for May 16th, 2017. All those in favor of the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the minutes are adopted. Members, this is going to be probably a topic of discussion for us, not just today, but for other committee hearings too in the future, but we at least wanted to get started in the process. And I would like to ask if Mr. Frignito can join us at the table, because we want to go over a couple of things. We have before us, you'll remember, I think it was earlier in the year, the state auditor had issued a report on the CPAs that provide audits of our counties. And remember the history of it. Our counties, prior to the change in law in 2015 that was signed into law by Governor Dayton and was passed by the House that was controlled by the Republicans and passed by the Senate that was controlled by the Democrats. When that law was put into place, prior to that, there was 28 counties that had the ability to do audits through a certified public accountant. We expanded that to include all of the counties, if they wanted to have that option, could have their audits performed by CPA firms. On top of that, all of our school districts have their audits performed by CPAs, and all of our cities, except for Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Duluth, have their audits performed by a CPA. The only city, for a city of a first class that is allowed to have their audits done by a CPA is the city of Rochester. That was signed into law by Governor Dayton when Rochester became a city of the first class here in recent history. So that's kind of the background of how we are at this process. And so the state auditor had issued her report on county audits that raised some concerns. So I had reached out to the firms that were under question on this, and then also reached out to the Society of CPAs too, to kind of get a better feel of what we're talking about when it comes to audits performed by CPA firms and just audits in general. What's standard practice and how does this all work? And so I've asked Mr. Frignito if you can come to the testifier table. I just have some questions for you. I think that would be helpful of just kind of helping us understand, and I don't know if you have other folks too that are willing to testify about how does the process of audits work, if you can give some feedback on that at all, or what's the kind of the standard practice, and what do they operate off of as far as their standard or practice? Are there certain rules in place that CPAs follow? How does that work? Can you provide some insight on that at all? Or
Certainly, Madam Chair. My name is Gino Fragnito, and I'm the Government Relations Director at the Minnesota CPA Society. And start out, thank you for having this hearing and having an opportunity to talk a little bit more about this report. Basically, the objective of an audit is to express an opinion about whether the financial statements that you're looking at are fairly presented in conformity with the applicable financial standards and the reporting framework that's used by a county government. In this case, so we're talking about county audits. The auditor has the responsibility to plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements are free of material misstatements, whether that's caused by, if there were misstatements, whether they were caused by error or whether they were caused by fraud. The auditor plans, conducts, and reports the results of the audit in accordance with generally accepted accounting standards. GAAP is the acronym for that. In addition, each county is subject to compliance audits of the entity's major federal awards programs. The audit of the federal programs includes gaining an understanding of and testing of internal controls over compliance, and also testing compliance with applicable compliance requirements for each of those federal programs. So that is kind of the summary of what the audit would look like from a CPA firm in their approach to working with the county government.
Have your CPA firms been audited by the state auditor in the past, whether it's for counties or whether it's for cities or whether it's for the school districts? Or has it just been limited to this county one that was done here just recently, or do you have any perspective on that?
Well, the state auditor's office doesn't audit the audits. It's a review, and there are two types of reviews. There is a desk review, and then there's a work paper review. The desk reviews, to my knowledge, have taken place and continue to take place. The level of work reviews has increased, and to my knowledge and conversations with the firms, the frequency has picked up in the last year and has not been the practice where there was a standard format set up where we come in and look at work review papers every so often.
Okay, so it's a kind of a unique situation on that piece. What about when the reviews were conducted? Was that traditionally, was it done in the way that it's been traditionally done in the past for the desk review, or was that different, or was the actual work review then different? Can you kind of give me some perspective on that at all? Or
Well, and again, Madam Chair, it's based on conversations I've had with the firms. I did not sit in on the reviews, so I don't have the firsthand knowledge to be able to tell you what took place or what did not take place. But based on conversations with the firms, that there was a higher level of looking at the work papers than had been done in previous years.
Okay, and did they have an opportunity to respond to that at all, or?
They did not feel that the opportunity or adequate dialogue took place. They felt as if they were forced to gather the documents by a deadline, and there was not an opportunity. Typically in a audit situation, an auditor will go in, they'll look, they'll make some initial findings, they'll have an ongoing dialogue, they'll talk with the client if they're, or when an auditor is being reviewed, say for example in peer review, which is the professional review of an audit, the peer reviewer will look at the audit that the CPA firm did, and they will try to say, they'll look at it and say, well, we're missing some documentation here. Do you have this? Can you provide it? Is it available? Where is it? And so there is, just as no two county governments are the same, no two audits are the same, and no two CPA firms are going to document things the same. So the fact that it may have been missed on a first look doesn't necessarily mean that the information was not there in the work papers.
Okay.
Does that answer the question?
I think so. And I was wondering, I see that Madam Auditor is in the audience. Can you come to the testifier table? Because I just have some questions too about how the report was put together. And welcome to the committee, and please state your name for the record and who you represent.
Rebecca Otto, the State Auditor, Madam Chair. It's probably best that you ask me questions since it's a report done by our office, and this is secondhand knowledge that he's gained from I'm not sure where.
Well, thank you, Madam Auditor. I think it's helpful to get the perspective from both. I've had several of the county auditors, the CPA firms that have been audited by your office that have had questions about the procedure, and I have questions about it too. We are all used to here at the legislature how the legislative auditor does the reviews, and usually always what happens is the legislative auditor will reach out, does their audit of the whatever office or agency that it is, and then what they do is they provide their findings to the entity that they're auditing, and then they have an opportunity to work with them, answer any questions, and that changes the report before that report then is published to the legislature. And so that's been the process that the legislative auditor uses in doing reviews. And so one of the questions that I had after this review was done, I reached out to them and I said, okay, well, what of these things are, of a concern? Is this just a CPA, auditing practice that it's just a different style of how you do it, or is it a true concern? And, do we need to worry about the counties, or is this just more of a style preference? But then also I asked them, I said, did you have the opportunity to respond to this? And by and large, the answer was no. So I just can you help me understand kind of what your thought process was in putting together the report, and why they weren't given a chance to kind of respond to those claims at all?
Madam Chair, that would be normal for an audit. This is not an audit as Gino stated.
Well, even with a review or whatever phrase you want to use it, though, I would assume that as the state auditor, you would want to have the capability to have a better understanding of where they were at with the audit itself, so that you could have, well, maybe this was achieved and that the information was provided to the county. It was just provided in a different format. Was that part of the process at all, or?
Madam Chair, did you receive the letter that I sent to you?
I did, yeah.
Did you read it?
I sure did.
Wonderful. So, Madam Chair, it tells you all of that information in the letter.
Well, Madam Auditor, I didn't see anything where you had the opportunity, you gave them the opportunity to actually respond.
So I'll read it to you, Madam Chair.
And that was not the feedback that I received from the firms that have been involved in this.
Madam Chair, may I ask you which firms you talked to?
That's not important.
I would be important for the record to understand which firms you reached out to, who actually spoke to you.
Well, Madam Auditor, I think that there is a concern that this was maybe done in, I don't want to make any claims, Madam Auditor. At this time, I think I want to respect their privacy just like I respect any constituent that writes to me about a concern. I don't share their information without their permission.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you all received a copy of the letter that we sent to the CPA Society. The CPA Society had sent a letter to our office with a list of concerns without ever communicating with our office regarding their concerns. And there was a concern that they stated to us that they, let's see here, that the firms, that there was a lack of dialogue between our office and the CPA firms and a lack of opportunity for the firms to respond to the findings. Our office provided each CPA firm that had a work paper review, our audit documentation review, with opportunities to provide explanations and documentation to address the OSA's finding prior to the issuance of the report. Had the documentation that was missing existed and been provided to our office, there would have been no findings in the report. So it'd be interesting to know which firm says they didn't have that opportunity, because I've got a big fat file here of communications with the firms.
But Madam Auditor, when we have the legislative auditor puts out his findings, in the findings themselves, it has the responses from the agency that is being reviewed. And you have none of that. In your report, you show as if they didn't respond at all. And so then that kind of raises some concerns that I have with that. But I do have a couple of members that have questions.
Madam Chair.
And yes, Madam Auditor.
Well, so I am the state auditor of Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Our job and duty is to the taxpayers of Minnesota. And just for your information, let's see here, let me grab it. If the staff could please come and hand this out. So the legislative auditor did a report February 3rd of 2016 on county audits, as you recall, and you took that report around the state to several places, looking at efficiency and cost of county audits. And if you take a peek at this is the cover of the report, just to refresh your memory. And there are probably some members on the committee currently who were not on the committee at that time when this was taken statewide. There was no conclusions around whether CPA firms were cheaper or not. There might have been efficiencies. But there's a point underlined in their report just to draw your attention to it, which is they said, we believe the best test for whether CPA firms are more efficient than the OSA will result from implementing the 2015 legislation. The law allows for price competition, but it also allows the state auditor to ensure that CPA firms comply with audit standards. The state auditor also retains significant authority to ensure that counties are accountable for how they spend public money. So we don't oversee the CPA firms as the CPA Society thought we did. That's the Board of Accountancy in Minnesota. We oversee the counties on behalf of the taxpayers. And in the statute, the newly written statute, 6.481, the OSA's duty is, it says, it's 6.481 subdivision 3, It says a county audit performed by a CPA firm must meet the standards and be in the form required by the state auditor. The state auditor may require additional information from the CPA firm if the state auditor determines that it is in the public interest, but the state auditor must accept the audit unless the state auditor determines it does not meet recognized industry auditing standards or is not in the form required by the state auditor. The state auditor may make additional examinations as the auditor determines to be in the public interest. And so the work that we did is required by statute. It's our duty and our obligation. And the firms, if they're going to audit government, the statute also has a provision that talks about their work has to be as transparent as ours. So anyway, when you audit government, they must meet the standards, and so there's very specific language. There's also specific language that we can reject the audits, that we can require additional information. We requested the audit documentation, which is required by the standards to be retained. They must have it in place. And so if the audits don't meet the standards, which there were 130 instances in 8 of the reports that we reviewed where they failed to meet the standards, just in audit documentation alone, then we work with the firms. It's my job to do this work as the state auditor, and counties spend a lot of taxpayer dollars, and this is about accountable, transparent government for the taxpayers. So we're not auditing the firms. We're making sure the counties have received audits that meet the standards. And I don't know if there is anybody on the committee who didn't receive a copy of the report. We did send out a copy when we issued the report in March. Had the firms been able to provide the needed documentation, then they would have not ended up in the report. I want to just bring to your attention that we've got a story, Dixon, Illinois. You might not all be aware of Dixon, Illinois, but there was a local government employee in Dixon, Illinois that was able to steal $54 million from a small city in Illinois that was audited by a private firm that's very well known. And they had all kinds of fake invoices for capital projects that never happened. And there were some basic steps, standards required to verify documentation and the projects actually happened that were not done. So there's a reason why the Office of State Auditor is here. There is a reason why, you know, there was the law change, which you referred to in the beginning of the committee hearing, Chair Anderson, and that there was a law change in 2015, which is currently in the courts, and we hope for a decision soon.
Well,
And our authority, normally what we would have done would be to take the counties and require them to be audited by our office again. But
Madam
because that
Auditor, I
authority's,
just have a couple of questions.
but because
though.
that authority's in question right
In the report
now,
itself, though, if you look at, so for example, when the legislative auditor audited your office and put out their report to the legislature, on page 33 and 34 of that audit of your office, you had the opportunity to respond. You had a letter in there.
Yes.
And in the report that you provided to the legislature, there was no response provided from any of the entities that you did a work review of. And so that's, I think, what I'm trying to get at. But I do have Representative Nash and Representative Uglum that would like to ask questions. Representative Nash.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Madam Auditor, welcome back to the committee. A couple questions for you. Was this only audits that were being performed at counties that you did this with, or did you also look at school boards and cities?
Madam Auditor.
Madam Chair, due to the law change in 2015 and having our authority to take these counties back, this is a specific counties. We've always audited counties since the beginning of statehood. So it's a very specific responsibility and duty that we have. And because they're implementation arms of state government, they're actually sub-agencies of the state, whereas all those other local governments you name are not. And so we are carrying out our duty and to the taxpayers of this state. And we've done, Representative, as Chair Anderson was talking about, desk reviews versus work paper reviews. Desk reviews have been happening on counties specifically since 2003, then when there were cuts to the Office of State Auditor, and we had to have staff reductions. It was before I was the state auditor. And so that was put into place, and that's a high-level review of the audit report itself in terms of being in the proper format. The work paper
But I
review,
think,
which is a
Madam
deeper
Auditor,
dive.
The question that he's asking, yeah. So I think he got his
Yeah, and thank you,
question
Madam
answered.
Chair. and
Representative Nash.
To the auditor, so I understand your very lengthy answer, but that wasn't really the gist of my question. So you say it was only for counties, but my question really is, if you have concerns about these audit firms that are doing this for counties, I would imagine that many of them are also working on behalf of cities and school boards, and I'm wondering, based on what you're telling us, gosh, we should be really worried about some of this other work that's going on, apparently, according to your feelings, or you're impugning their reputations. I'm suddenly concerned. Is that something that we should be also concerned about, Madam Auditor, is the veracity of these audits for all these other units of government? Is that what you're saying?
Madam Auditor.
Madam Chair, this is never to impugn a CPA firm's reputation. I don't think this hearing is really a very good idea, because that was never the purpose of this report, but you chose to do this. What we are attempting to do this report, which is very important, is to make sure that the people that rely on these financial statements to be fairly stated understand what's happening or not happening. And when an audit does not meet the standards, that we are going to call that out. It's very important. But I'm confident that the firms will work to make sure that standards are met, the documentation is there, and we have many good firms in the state of Minnesota. If you want to expand our role and have us do other ones, that's your purview, and is certainly possible.
Representative Nash.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. And Madam Auditor, I'm always glad when you confirm that we do have the ability to expand or contract the purview of your office. I guess my other question is, prior to the 2015 legislation, and maybe you have this in your record somewhere that we could query, did you have these same concerns about the CPA firms that were going on? Did you express this to them? Did you let them know about these things? Or is it mostly just a post-2015 issue?
Madam Auditor.
Madam Chair, no, we've done this work. We've been doing this work, and we've communicated our concerns. And frankly, this is the worst we've ever seen. So we were deeply concerned about the number of, over 130 times summarized, of failing to meet the standards. Again, the firms can avail themselves of this information to make sure they do a better job in the future. But this is transparency. This is oversight of the people's money. And when audits are conducted of government, there's a higher level of accountability and transparency in that process.
Representative Nash.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair.
I've got Representative Uglum if you want to.
No, I have plenty rattling around. I guess my question still comes down to, you didn't answer, is this mostly a post-2015 that you have these great concerns, so that you've got documented in your office somewhere that these same concerns were in existence prior to 2015? And Mr. Fragnito, if I could, Madam Chair?
Well, let me answer your question, Representative
thank you.
Nash.
Madam
Madam
Auditor.
Chair, so yes, we've done this work before and we've communicated it to the firms. The difference that we have now is, first, this is the most deficiency we've ever seen in terms of failures to follow the national standards. And second, we normally would have communicated the issues and taken the counties back in and required them to be audited by our office. It's a quiet process. The fact that we don't have the authority to do that anymore, and the extent of the findings that we had, it's incumbent upon us to publish that. So those that are relying on those financial statements to be fairly stated understand what's happening or not happening. It's accountability.
Representative Nash.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll be brief. But for Mr. Fragnito, if you would, prior to the 2015 lawsuit, did you have the OSA express these concerns to your members and folks that you know, or is this a post-2015 law change that seems to be rising to the top?
The level of
Mr.
concern.
Fragnito?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The level of concern with my members is post-2015. Yes, there certainly was dialogue that took place pre-2015, but it seems to have heightened, and the scrutiny and intensity and veracity has increased.
Representative Nash.
Madam Chair, I'll just let Representative Ugen go. I do have other questions, and in the interest of time, I know we've got other folks, so I can circle back around.
I'm going to put us on a little bit of a pause. I've got one question, and then we'll come back to Representative Uglum. We do have to recess because we have caucus that we need to go to. But to piggyback off of what Representative Nash said, you know, it was in the news recently, Madam Auditor, that the school district of Shakopee had serious budgeting problems, a $4.5 million cost to the school district itself. They are under your purview. Have you done any work review or any desk review of their financials since that's been revealed, or did you do any work of review of their information prior to that at all?
Madam Chair, where in statute do you see that we have responsibility over the school districts?
You've repeatedly, before our committee, have repeatedly said that you have the review over every school district, all the cities. I think I could probably pull out one of your handouts from previous years, too, that also show that that's part of your responsibility as the state auditor.
Oh, Madam Chair, okay, that's investigations. So the Department of Education really has oversight over school districts. They used to have a unit that could do investigations, but that got cut. And so if there are issues, they sometimes will come to us and ask us to do the work. School district personnel are required, if they have evidence of theft or fraud or misuse of public funds or assets, to report it to our office, and we can follow through. So we have done some investigations. The other piece is citizens can ask us, they can petition us to audit their district, and that'll be a limited scope financial audit. And the issue with Shakopee, from my understanding, is that it was, when you budget for something, it's a plan. And so when you budget, you're planning, and there was some, I think, some human error in that. They didn't cost the people of Shakopee anything. It's just a surprise because they don't have the revenues that they had planned for. So anyway, but yeah, they're audited by a private firm, Madam Chair. But I believe that they are working on that, and if the citizens petition us, that would be where we would do school districts.
And just to help you out, Madam Auditor, before we break here, and members, I just want to have this for your ticket too. If you look at Minnesota Statute 6.51, other political subdivisions, it says all powers and duties of the state auditor herein imposed and conferred with respect to the supervision, inspection, and examination of books and accounts of cities in Section 6.50 are herewith extended to all political subdivisions of the state. But with that, members, we are in recess to the call of the chair.